Greetings from the Professional Grounds Management Society. My name is Mark Feist, currently serving the PGMS membership as President-elect and keeping up with my daytime job as Assistant Director of Facilities Operations at American University. Today's Behind the Scenes program features 4 guests from our nation's capital. Chris Vedek, Deputy Director, Architect of the Capitol Grounds and Arboretum. Katie Sirach, Supervisor for the House Gardens and Grounds. Melissa Westbrook, Urban Forester. And Lawrence Winston, Supervisor for the Senate Garden and Parks. In a few minutes, I'll be asking some behind-the-scenes questions to our panel, just after we watch this short video overview of the Architect of the Capitol Grounds and Arboretum.
It's important to preserve Frederick Law Olmsted's landscape here because it's a part of American history. It's a living and breathing landscape that has been here for 140 years. Frederick Law Olmsted is the father of American landscape architecture. Most of his landscapes are large open landscapes in parks. That's what makes the U.S. Capitol and the Capitol grounds so distinctly different from much of his other landscapes, is because he designed this not as a park, but really as a place where the landscape is second to the building.
He creates these alcoves as you're walking up to the Capitol. You're walking up and kind of weaving between the sidewalk and the trees, and then you come upon this magnificent building, and then there it is, almost like a picturesque moment. It's probably one of the most amazing places to work. We're adding towards the history of the U.S. Capitol, and we get to preserve and maintain a historic landscape collection.
We have over 4,500 trees in our arboretum. A lot of them are memorial trees, commemorative trees, and really have some sort of special interest to our nation.
I think one of the most interesting trees on the grounds is the Anne Frank tree. It's a cutting from a horse chestnut outside of the window where she hid from the Nazis, and it's right over there. On campus, there are trees that are well over 100 years old, and they're a witness to history, and we'd like to preserve them.
We're doing an ambitious program where they're taking seedlings from certain trees to preserve and replant it here on the Capitol grounds.
When we decide what we are going to change on the landscape, such as we need to remove one of the historic trees, we take Olmsted's cultural landscape report and try and put in another type of tree that is the same. We try not to install any type of species that would detract from the building's integrity.
The most important thing that we can do specifically for the trees, but also for the turf, is really about creating exclusion zones around critical root zones of trees. If visitors are here during the 4th of July or Memorial Day, they'll see giant swaths of fencing around our trees, and that's really about protecting the soil around the critical root zone of those trees, because managing soil compaction is probably the most important thing you can do for the health of trees.
Working here at the Architect of the Capitol provides an opportunity to preserve many different assets. We have both Frederick Law Olmsted's living historic assets, such as our trees, and hardscape features. Frederick Law Olmsted designed the summer house so that it was a place where people could come and relax.
The summer house is probably my favorite feature.
There's a small grotto in there where the water cascades and drips down.
It's a great little private alcove and a nice hideaway on the side of the Capitol that's hidden from most people.
at Capitol Grounds and Arboretum, we have about 80 full-time employees with a wide-ranging skill, and all of our employees play a vital role to the preservation of Frederick Law Olmsted's landscape.
I think it's a testament of our team and the folks here at the U.S. Capitol striving and working hard to keep the integrity of that original design concept in place.
First and foremost, we are here as stewards of the landscape. What I think is most important about what we're doing to preserve this landscape for the future really is about restoring Olmsted's original vision for the landscape. His thought was to bring people to this landscape, meant that it would instill in them a sense of who they are as Americans and an appreciation for American democracy.
And it's my opportunity and our team's opportunity to contribute to the Capitol landscape, to preserve it for the next generation and for future generations beyond that.
What a great video. Really shows what you do day to day. Chris, Katie, Melissa, Lawrence, welcome. And I wanted to ask each of you to tell us a little bit about your role working as architect of the Capitol Grounds and Arboretum. Maybe starting with Chris, as Deputy Director, would you be able to give us a snapshot of the scope and variety of activities that fall under your purview?
Yeah, sure, Mark. I'd like to do that. I've been fortunate enough to be here at the Capitol Grounds and Arboretum for 2 years now, and it's a wonderful place. My role as Deputy Director is fully supporting the Director, and leadership for planning and operations, project management, policy, programming, training and development. Those are some of my primary duties. I have a couple direct reports that broaden the scope there. I have 2 division managers that report to me, so we're broken up into a horticultural gardening division. So where the 1 division manager leads that group, and under that program is the urban forestry and the arborist crew. We have the House, the Senate, and the Capitol gardening teams. We also have a turf manager, and we also have a plant healthcare entomologist specialist on staff. And going on the other side, we have our maintenance division, which encompasses our masons team, our pipe fitters, and our irrigation team, as well as our vehicle maintenance and equipment personnel, and also they get involved with a lot of special event support. In addition to that, we have a jurisdiction safety officer who certainly develops all of our safety programs, initiatives. We work with our JOSH committees and our safety stand-down meetings, and he also interfaces not only for the jurisdiction program, but also with the agency cross-jurisdictional interface with safety and environmental, and also with the emergency management team. So we're all working together on that. And then last but not least, the landscape architect. He works with everybody. He gets involved heavily with the historical CLRs and a lot of our hardscape management. So our walks and drives, and right now, like he's engaged with, we just had the Olmsted lanterns refurbished down on the outer wall on the west side of the lawn. This beautiful bronze lanterns were just refurbished. And I think that's the first time in over 130 years. And it was beautiful to see them back to their original condition. They were placed back on their pedestal, and they even tried to replicate the original gas fixtures with these multi-LED lights that were placed inside the unit. So it was really a beautiful thing to see. So Drew gets involved with a lot of those things. So we're all collaborative here. In addition to the jurisdictional responsibilities, I also get involved with agency-wide initiatives. So right now I'm a lead with Gardens and Ground Standards. Certainly a big part of our team members here are in the development and are leads with the sub-team standards that we're focusing on, which is irrigation, soils, winter weather management, our tree management program, and turf, and IPM if I fail to mention that. So really excited for that. I also do get involved with on the broader scope with the agency, energy and sustainability initiatives, facilities management things, and other operatives under the architect of the Capitol. But we have a enlightening, we have a very enthusiastic, talented team here at the architect of the Capitol Landscape and Grounds and Arboretum, and I'm very privileged here to work with these folks and excited for all the upcoming things that we're going to be involved with. That's kind of it in a nutshell. So
Sounds like you keep a full schedule for sure.
it has been, Mark, it's been very busy. Not getting too deep into the current situation, but again, through different situations, offers different opportunities, and seeing what folks can do and how our teams collaborate and support each other. And it's been a wonderful experience to see that happen. So thankful for that.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask Katie, as supervisor for the House Gardens and Grounds, what is your typical day-to-day routine, if there is such a thing, with your fast-paced Capitol Hill job?
Well, every day is different, and all our work duties are always changing on a daily basis. In the spring and the fall, we normally plant thousands of annuals and bulbs for all of our seasonal garden displays. Then a different day we could be pruning shrubs and deadheading our perennials. Then on the next day, we'll be mowing the countless acres on the Capitol, Senate, and House grounds. So it's ever changing. We take care of numerous events throughout the year. So that could involve inauguration, lying in state, the memorial concert, 4th of July. There's always something going on here. So we have to stay on our toes and always be vigilant about being prepared for anything. In the winter time, we do all of our own snow removal. So that involves plowing the streets, all the sidewalks, and we're actually known pretty well for having the most pristine sidewalks in DC during those weather events, because we're here around the clock just to make sure that everyone's safe and can get to their jobs. Besides that, we also do all of our own designs, and we're following, like Chris had mentioned, the cultural landscape reports. So the House, Senate, and Capitol, we all have fairly strict reports that we follow so that we're maintaining the historic integrity on each of the sides. So that's something that we always follow. And also, as Chris had said, many times, even though we're known as separate entities, we come together to work as a full team, especially during events. So it's very exciting and a wonderful place to work.
It certainly sounds that way. I know I worked at one time at the National Academy of Sciences, which was directly across from the State Department. So like yourselves, I would imagine, running into maybe senators and dignitaries, that type of thing. I imagine that happens as well. I was always quite impressed with how that's done.
Oh yeah, they're all the time.
Well, that's great. Melissa, so I imagine your urban forestry position involves a great deal of interface with the architect of the Capitol Arboretum. Is that the case?
Yeah, certainly. My position as urban forester at the U.S. Capitol Grounds and Arboretum really involves everything from the minutia of doing advanced tree risk assessments to maintaining tree care and inventory contracts. I'm responsible for record management of all of the CGA woody collections. And the urban forester really plays a pretty important role in shaping long-term planning as it relates to managing the Capitol Hill urban canopy, as well as just like the general arboretum program. So this can include anything from developing education and outreach programs for visitors, creating planning documents like Chris mentioned with our tree management standard or our arboretum management plan. And I often work on carrying out conservation initiatives for our historic and biologically significant tree germplasm. And I, being the urban forester, I have the unique opportunity that I get to work with really all of our crews because, as we know, trees are all over the landscape. So I get to work with our plumbers, our garden staff, and of course, very closely with our very talented arborists in-house. So.
I know I can relate to a part in the video where you talked about compaction and kind of the enemy of trees.
Yeah,
so
certainly.
With all the traffic, pedestrian traffic that you get throughout the year, I'm sure that's something that you need to keep on top of all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned in the video, we're constantly putting up exclusion zones around a lot of our historic trees it's not only to protect the asset itself, but also visitors. So we're putting up fencing often, and post-event, we're looking at ways that we can mitigate soil compaction through vertical mulching or radial trenching, things like that.
So I'm going to put myself on the spot a little bit. And again, during the video, saw a tree that really I'm unfamiliar with. I think it was the Jubilee tree.
Jujube, yeah. Ziziphus jujube.
So tell me a little bit about that tree.
Well, we have, I think 5 of them on the grounds of that particular species. So it comes from regions of Southeast Asia. It's used extensively, I know, in Indian cooking and Chinese cooking. You've probably seen them in health food stores, the jujube. We have them on the grounds. We think a lot of our records are, they're hard to really validate historic records because records weren't necessarily kept very well back in the 1800s. But we believe that those trees, or at least they are descendants of, collections that were made during the Wilkes expedition, which would have ended around 1842. So we have, I think, probably about 4 or 5 different trees that we believe originated from that collection where Wilkes explored the South Pacific. And of course, a lot of that collection was used to start the U.S. Botanic Garden. So they also have a few of those jujubes that they think are from the Wilkes expedition as kind of their founding collection. So they're really special trees. I love going with visitors on tours out there in the fall and talking to them about how they're edible. And, they're small trees, so they don't make a huge spectacle in the landscape, but they're fun to talk about with visitors.
That's some great history.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on to Lawrence, I have one more quick question for you. So out of over 4,500 trees, do you have a favorite one there?
That's like asking to pick your favorite child, right? Probably. I have a few. One of them I think is one of the Wilkes trees. It's a Caucasian Zelkova. It's on Union Square. It's probably a 64 DBH tree, so it's a pretty big tree. And they're not typical to see in the landscape in the U.S., so it's kind of special when you see it. Mostly we are seeing the Japanese Zelkovas, throughout the landscapes because they often replaced the elms after Dutch elms disease. So that's one of them. We also have a Quercus pubescens, and I'm trying to, Downy oak, I think it is, over at the Library of Congress. And it's just got the most beautiful form with these low branches. It kind of reminds me of a live oak, but that's one to check out if you ever see it in front of the Jefferson Building at Library of Congress.
I'll be sure to do just that. Actually, that'll give a little segue. And Lawrence, I promise we are going to get to you.
No big hurry. Take
One
your
second.
time.
But no, it's kind of a good segue as far as coming to visit, because we were all set to have our July regional meeting for the Professional Grounds Management Society in Washington, D.C., actually based at American University, but certainly one of the highlights was going to be a visit to the architect of the Capitol grounds and Arboretum. But that's not to be totally sad about, because we're planning that trip July 2021. So we're way ahead of the game insofar as the planning process. So indeed, we will be able to get there and look around and meet all of you up close and personal when we visit. So heading into Lawrence as supervisor of the Senate Gardens and Parks, does your position differ from Katie's, who supervises the House side?
The position, well, I'm actually the assistant, but the position outside is a little bit different because we're close to Union Station and the Capitol. So when most tourists come, they come through our areas, which are more like parks, but we also have to maintain the Capitol. So yes and no. We all do the same thing and we all work together, but our responsibility is a little bit different because we have a couple more tourists. That our area is kind of like the gateway to the Smithsonian, to the Library of Congress, to the Capitol building. So we're kind of like that, like I said, the jumping off point. And our responsibility, yes, is to take care of the grounds, both for the Capitol, both for everybody here, because they come through, like I said, they come through us to go to the Capitol, to go to the House, to come to our Senate buildings, also to go to the Supreme Court. But we also have to take care of the green roofs, the interior plants, and like I said, we have to, some of it is like a park setting and some of it is like around the building. And we do have to keep, like I said, the homestead idea and trying to keep everything, I guess, under control and maintained up to a high level.
Right. That's important. Under control. I know Katie mentioned something that I've learned not to like so much, and that's snow removal. So I imagine you get involved with that as well, right?
Very, very much. And we all work together. So if Katie needs help, then we help her. If we need help, they help us. The masons help, the irrigation team helps. So we all work together as a big team. It's all one family. One team, one mission is our motto.
That's the only way to be able to achieve excellence in my book anyhow. I don't know whether, and this is nothing against meteorologists, but I don't know whether today I heard, as they typically start talking about it this time of year, what the winter's going to bring. And so I heard today, which worries me, they said, much warmer temperatures through the winter. I like it better when they're predicting colder temperatures and more snow than we've ever seen before, because usually it turns out to be just the opposite, like it has been for the last 3 winters here in DC. We've been pretty lucky not to get those big blizzards. But I guess we'll all wait and see what this winter has in store for us. So I know Chris told me a while back, and I forget whether it's over 200 or close to 300 acres. Is that correct? Which
yes.
Surprises me with the size of. Is that what's the acreage there, Chris?
Yeah, we're at 295 acres of maintained grounds. 13 of those include Union Square. So Union Square was an area we kind of took over from the National Park Service. I'm not exactly at what time. It might be a decade or 2 ago. So that's basically from the bottom of the west lawn crossing over Peace Circle. And then you have the Grant Memorial, which overlooks the large reflecting pool, which follows down to the mall. So there's a 13-acre part of that there that we have to take over. We have the maintenance there. So the Grant Memorial just finished a beautiful restoration. The reflecting pool is a unique pool. It's got some challenges there. And then there's, like Melissa mentioned, there's a open tree area, some lawn further past that before you start getting down to the mall site, which has some additional trees and some open lawn space down there. So, and that's, we have a few additional parks that are part of that too. There's Prospect Park, a couple other nooks around, all the parking lots. So, you know, while they're not the most pleasant to see, we've done some interesting things around there. I give a lot of credit to the Senate and the House side. So they have the parking lots and they've done some beautiful landscapes around them. We have a water garden feature on the Senate side and some natural perennial plantings. Katie on the House side has done some nice beautification and taking what has really been a not very attractive or inviting area. So these are your typical surface lots. And they've really come up with some creative designs. It's very welcoming. It's a changing environment with the garden. And people really have taken notice to that. So I know there's on some of these bigger issues, we're trying to take some initiatives for more sustainability and do some redesign on some of these surface lots where we have rain gardens within it and trees planted within these parking lots, as you probably are aware of with some of the stuff you might have done at American University. And so that's part of the forward-thinking beautification program and sustainability that we're trying to do here at the Architect of the Capitol. So.
Great, thank you. Katie, they mentioned the summer house. Is that within your area of responsibility, the summer house?
No, that's located at the Capitol.
At the Capitol?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, is there someone that could give me a little more information about the summer house? That's another less familiar with.
I can tell you a little bit about it.
Oh, okay.
So if you're looking at the west front of the Capitol, it's located on the north side. And like I had said in the video, it's pretty hidden from the public unless you know that it's there. It has this really beautiful shrub exterior. And on the inside, if you walk in, it's all this brick and then this beautiful grotto that runs through it. But the temperature inside, I think sometimes it's like 15 degrees cooler than the exterior temperature just because of the grotto. And then there's these little sitting benches circling the entire interior. And it used to be, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that people could go and use spoons that were there to take a sip of water back when it first began. So that was like a really neat historic feature that I thought, and then it always had running water going through it. But it's just a really neat historic feature that's put on the Capitol that a lot of people don't know about.
I'm going to look forward to seeing that as well. So I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to this great overview that we've had today. And
yeah, I'd like to elaborate a little bit. So what else is unique is certainly the large historical living assets, the trees, you know, the parks and the gardens, and again, all the historical infrastructure assets that we have to take care of. So the lanterns, the lamps, the terrace walls, you know, the fountains, you know, everywhere has got the fountain on this campus. So you have the beautiful fountain in the Senate Parks is a wonderful place. It's hopefully going to be unveiled here at the end of the year. It's been under a 2-year renovation project. I'm very excited to see that be opened up and coming back on board. It's a beautiful location. Over on the house side, Katie's got a couple fountains over there on more of an open setting, open lawn area, which has a different feel, but it's very beautiful. We have the fountains, of course, down at Peace Circle, and then we have the one up on the John Marshall Plaza, which is on the west side of the Capitol. So leading into the other thing, which is so exciting about working here, as Katie mentioned, is the big event support. So you have these huge Capitol concerts that we have to prepare for, participate, and after it's all over, we do have to do with the renovation and the recovery, I should say, on some of this. But when you see what's all involved and people working together, and we do a lot of partnership with because it's actually a National Park Service event, and where they're sponsoring and providing the site. You have the many military band concerts that go on in the summer. The real big thing we're working on right now is the inauguration preparation. And just the planning alone for this started last year. And this is going to have to all be done and in place here in the next 4 to 5 months. So a lot of effort. It gives us an opportunity for our jurisdiction to interface and collaborate with a lot of other partners under the agency. And that's a great thing too. Everybody really gets an understanding and appreciation for what they're doing. So it's exciting, a lot of work. And again, we're here to serve Congress and provide this beautiful public place for the American people.
Well, thank you. And on behalf of the Professional Grounds Management Society, I want to thank Chris and Melissa, Katie and Lawrence. It's been a great get-together, and I hope to see you again. I have met a few of you at our local DC branch meetings, so I hope to see you there. And we all hope to see you next year in July 2021 at the Capitol, at the grounds and the Arboretum there. So thank you very much, and we'll look forward to many more visits ahead.
Thank you, and look forward to seeing you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Looking forward to it next year.
Okay, see you all later.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.